Hello, this is Dr. Victoria Skirbo speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. On July 27th, we will be having a very potent full moon lunar eclipse at 5 degrees of Aquarius. And this is probably the most potent of the three eclipses of eclipse season that began with the new moon solar eclipse at 21 degrees of Cancer. That occurred on the 12th or 13th, depending on where you live on the planet. And then we're going to have another one in August 11th, and that one occurs at 19 degrees of Leo. That is a partial solar eclipse. So this eclipse season began with a partial solar eclipse in Cancer. Then we have the total lunar eclipse in Aquarius, and then we have the partial solar eclipse, in Leo. All of these eclipses are occurring at the north node of the moon, making these north node eclipses. We have two eclipse seasons every year. One will occur at the south node of the moon, and one will occur at the north node of the moon. The one that occurred at the south node of the moon were the eclipses that we had on, was it January 30th or 31st? And January 31st and February 15th. Those eclipses were south node eclipses. Those eclipses were about letting go. The south node in Aquarius, we're dealing with, among other things, trauma and group orientation. There, when you're looking to release something, an energy from the south node of the eclipse, you always sort of look at the energy in a more negative perspective. And some of the more negative aspects of Aquarius are elitism, clickiness, trauma, north node eclipses are about moving into an unknown future. So a south node, the eclipse at the south node brings up more issues of guilt, because when we're releasing the past, we often feel guilty. The north node eclipses bring up more fear, because when you're facing the unknown, it's not unusual to have fear around that. And so the north node is in Leo, and Leo is about creativity, it's about self-expression, it's also about coming from a heart-centered place. And so the nodes of the moon where eclipses happen is the direction of our collective evolution. So we're being asked to sort of move out of that sort of cliquey, elitist, group-orientated, my group is better than your group kind of energy, and moving into a much more heart-centered, self-expressive place. There's a little bit of a paradox, because Aquarius is generally associated with more humanitarian endeavors in the Aquarian age. And yet, we're being asked to sort of be unique individuals. Well, we're being asked to be unique individuals within, and figure out what our unique talents and abilities are, so that we can be productive members of the group, right? And then bring some of that more positive, humanitarian, egalitarian energy of Aquarius. Anytime we're dealing with an axis, it's not so much about being on one side of the axis or the other. It's about being in the middle. And if you are actuated, you are self-expressive, you know who you are, and yet you understand the need to work together in groups to improve everybody, sort of level the playing field. As I do well, so do you. instead of, you know, an enemy of my enemy is my friend, how about let's just be friends. Everybody gets to be self-expressive, but, you know, not to the negative end of the Leo pole, right? Not to be, I'm the best and I'm the greatest and I can do it all. And we can certainly see that energy out there in the collective. And we can understand that nobody can do it all. Even if you were capable, you couldn't do it all. So these are some of the lessons, some of the issues that are coming up with these eclipses. So what I would like to do is I want to look at the eclipse from both an astrological point of view and a Kabbalistic point of view, kind of connect those two. And then I think the last thing I'll do is a little bit of a card reading on the eclipse itself, just to kind of see what the energies are showing me in the tarot card. So we can start with the chart, and I'll be right back with that. Hi, so I'm back. So I'm going to put this eclipse up on a natural chart. That means that the chart starts with Aries, goes through the 12 houses. Every house has its natural ruler or its natural sign associated with it. This kind of gives us the purest energy of the eclipse. You can always erect the eclipse chart to your area where you live in. I will look at how it affects America. I live in America. And it's quite potent for America because this eclipse is occurring on the actual nodal axis of America. So it makes it particularly potent. Anytime something is going on a nodal axis, whether it be for a country or a person, this is definitely a fated time, and we certainly feel like we're in fated times. So let's look at this eclipse from a purely sort of archetypical level. Now the eclipse, we're always dealing with the sun and the moon and the nodes of the moon. And eclipses can only occur at the nodes of the moon. And the nodes of the moon is the junction where the orbit of the moon crosses the ecliptic. The north node is where the orbit of the moon moves north of the ecliptic, and the south node is where the orbit of the moon goes below the ecliptic. And if the ecliptic is like this, the moon, the orbit of the moon does this, sort of comes around and goes down, and that's how we get that point. Now, just a word on the nodes of the moon. When we're dealing with the nodes of the moon, we're dealing with evolution in our own personal chart, our emotional evolution, because we're dealing with the moon, how we react and respond to life, okay? And in the transiting nodes, it's the edge of our collective evolution. And so we're being asked to move in the direction of the north node, Leo, and release the negative aspects of the south node, Aquarius. But it's not just about releasing. We also have the capacity. The south node is where we have our talents and our abilities. And so it's not just about releasing, but it's about releasing the negative, our negative tendencies, this stuff that doesn't really serve our evolution. What's the evolution? The evolution is Leo. It's moving into our heart. So those things that prevent us from being in our heart, perhaps being in our head, being too mental, rationalizing everything, you know, make it be like in a science experiment. Well, this is, you know, this is the law, and this is that, and this is that, and it sort of cuts you off from your heart. But if you're too much in your heart, perhaps, you know, you're giving too much away. So there has to be a balance between the north and the south node at any time. Okay, so let's talk about this. First of all, let's see where the nodes of the moon lie. Now in this chart, of course, we're going to have the north node in the 5th house, because that's the Leo house. And so we have the north node in Leo, and then of course the south node we have in Aquarius, in Aquarius's house. The nodes of the moon on the day of the eclipse are 5 degrees, 53 minutes. They're retrograde at the time of the eclipse. They're generally always retrograde. Majority of the time they're retrograde. They do go direct every now and again. That's more unusual. And then so that makes the south node 5 degrees of Aquarius, and 53 minutes retrograde. Okay. So the direction of our collective evolution is in the direction of that 5th house. And that 5th house deals with our creative self-expression, our creativity, okay? Children, self-expression, I think I said that. So this is the direction that we're being required to move into. To a certain extent, you know, moving, connecting with our inner child. Leo deals with children and certainly the inner child and the wounded inner child. And we have a perfect example in America of the wounded inner child, and that would be the President of the U.S. Oftentimes, the wounded inner child becomes the tyrant. The wounded inner child becomes the narcissist. You know, you don't feel like you're getting your needs met, and so you become this like black hole of need, okay, and not any amount of adulation is going to fulfill that need. And as I've said when I've done charts of people with Leo or who are having issue with Leo or having Leos in their life, you know, Leos love adulation, but they'll take the opposite of that just to get the energy. And that's not a healthy way, you know. It's about, you know, loving and being loved, but you can't accept love if you don't know how to give love. It's a give and take. And this axis that we're dealing with this eclipse is the axis of love. In Leo, it's personal love, and in Aquarius, it's impersonal love. So it really, all the lessons right now are about love and are requiring us to love one another. How easy is that these days, right? Okay, so we have the nodal axis. Then we have the moon. The moon is at the south node of the moon. Okay, oops, that's not working. Hold on one second. Let me get a pen that works. So we have the moon at the south node. The moon is at 4 degrees, 45 minutes of Aquarius. It's very close. Okay, that's why this is an exact. This is why this is a total lunar eclipse, because of the exactitude of the moon to the node. And of course, if we go to the other side, we're going to have the sun at the same degree, because this is the full moon, right? There's going to be 4 degrees, but of Leo this time, 45. And so wherever you have 4 degrees or 5 degrees of Aquarius Leo, that's the area of your chart that's being activated. What house is that happening in? Are there any planets there? Are any of the planets being eclipsed by this eclipse? My Jupiter in Aquarius is at 5 degrees of Aquarius. So this lunar eclipse is occurring on my Jupiter. So it'll be interesting to see how that manifests in my life. Sometimes you don't know how it's going to manifest. You can guess. You can see areas in your life where you can connect the dots. But the eclipses have very much an Aquarian energy. So you can't always prepare for them. You can only sort of like, I don't want to say pick up the pieces necessarily, but see what's being offered. See what doors are being opened to you and walk through them. That's pretty much what eclipses are about. Okay, and then the other thing that's going on, which is very important, is that the planet Mars is on that south node. And that's at 3 degrees Aquarius, what does it say here? 58 minutes. So this is all very, and it's retrograde, as we know. So this is all very close. The south node is our accumulated past. We have the moon there, our emotions are right there, they're raw, the emotions from the past are raw. And then we have Mars there just going over it. It's like having an open wound and somebody just taking an emery board and going, oh yeah, does that hurt? Does that hurt? Does that hurt? And so the wound is, and Aquarius is trauma. It's a trauma signature. And so not just our trauma, our personal trauma, but our collective trauma. And with all the warfare and all the pain and suffering that's going on in the world, it's like we're all just this one big wound. And it's time to let go. It's time to release ourselves from that wounded state, lest we wound ourselves. It's about moving to the heart, moving to Leo, moving to the child within, moving to children, making sure that children are taken care of, that they get the love and nurturing that they need. I mean, there's just so many children in pain who don't have food and don't have a house to live in. It doesn't matter what country you're in. You can feel this pain, and if you're an empath, God help us, right? Or God has helped us. You empaths out there, like myself, Cancer with a Pisces moon, right? We're feeling this, right? Okay. Let me just give my camera a rest and I'll be right back. Okay, so that was right back, right? I don't know how long it'll go, actually, so give it a little break. So this is the axis. Now, this in itself is very, very powerful. But the other thing that's going on, and I'll go out of the, I'll be right back here, is that we actually have something else affecting the nodal axis, and that is the planet Uranus. Uranus is over here in Leo, in Taurus. Uranus in Taurus is at 2 degrees, 31 minutes. And so Uranus in Taurus is actually square the nodes. Now, a planet square the nodes brings a lot of action to because it's squaring both nodes. And so there's a lot of action on the side of Leo, there's a lot of action on the side of Aquarius, okay? Planets square the nodes can be skipped steps in our evolution. We don't completely express the energy of that planet square the nodes. The planet squaring the nodes is Uranus. Uranus is about liberation. It's about individuation. It's about breaking free and breaking out of the structures of our lives that no longer serve our evolution. Uranus deals with our higher self, our higher mind, and so it's our spiritual self. And so spirit is trying to break us out of this prison, mental prison that we have put ourselves into. Now, incidentally, that whole structure of consciousness thing that we're trying to break free of is actually ruled by Saturn. Saturn is in Capricorn right now. It's at the beginning of Capricorn. And so Saturn in Capricorn will challenge the structure of everybody's consciousness, because it's the sign that's connected with Saturn. Saturn's ruling, one of Saturn's ruling signs. The other sign that Saturn rules is actually Aquarius. And so Saturn is the ruler, Saturn in Capricorn, which is 2.5 years, and then Saturn in Aquarius, which is another 2.5 years. It's really going to be about the testing of what structures work and the breaking down of those that don't, and then restructuring. And then, of course, that Saturn in Aquarius, when it gets to there, it's going to be about restructuring in a more equal and humanitarian way. So we're actually at this point in the process of things breaking apart and things that we thought we could count on, right? That's just like a general feeling, a general energy, okay, of letting go. This particular eclipse is letting go of the emotion, right? Letting go of the feeling, letting go of the feelings of being victimized, of being traumatized, of feeling like that there's nothing you can do to make your life better because there's all these circumstances beyond your control. There are circumstances beyond your control, but it's the thing that is in your control is how you react and respond to those things, and that's ruled by the moon, and that's what the nodes of the moon are asking us to do, is to approach this through the lens of the heart. Approach us through the lens and the core of our being. The heart chakra is the place where the lower chakras, the lower 3 chakras, and the upper 3 chakras meet. It's the heart chakra that makes humanity what it is. harmony through conflict occurs in the heart. And we have a lot of conflict right now. And it behooves us to find the harmony within ourselves, and then the harmony within the relationship closest to us, and then move out from there like a pebble in a pond. Okay? So this Uranus square the nodes is challenging us to break free. Now, when a planet is square the nodes, there can be a flip-flopping back and forth between one node and the next. And so we could constantly just be going back and forth, me, you, I, will, blah, blah, blah. And we can feel that energy. We can feel that, taking our perspective corners and being indoctrinated or stuck in those corners, not being able to go across the aisle, so to speak. In my own life, I have an uncle through marriage who I love very dearly. And he is so on the other side of my political perspective. It's really hard. I'm hard pressed sometimes to remember just what a lovely person he is. And I think to myself, how can he be such a lovely person and really think those things and not be in his heart about these things? But just like everybody else, he's a wounded child as well. And this is his opportunity to heal. Okay, so the resolution node is found by figuring out what was the last node that was at this point in Taurus. And because the nodes move retrograde, the last node that was in this point, the node that was in Taurus last was actually the south node of the moon. And the easy way to do is if you just stand on the planet square the nodes, look into the center, and look to the left. And so the south node is actually the key for our ability to individuate, to move out of the past and into the future, to start to build the future that is closest to our hearts, a future full of love, a future full of compassion for others, and where children have enough to eat and have a roof over their head, and we as the children of Mother Earth can thrive in her plentiful bosom instead of what's going on the planet. It's just insane, right? Okay, I'll be back again. I have to give my camera a rest. I'm sorry about this. I'll be right back. I realize I'm getting emotional about all this stuff, but that's what this is all about, right? The emotions. Okay, so with Uranus squaring the nodes and the south node of the moon being the resolution node, it's really about us going back to the past, reviewing our traumas. As in case of a personal, excuse me, I'm going to grab some water. In the case of our personal journey, and then in our collective journey, like in where we live, in our countries, the trauma in America, we're pretty young as a country. We'll be having our Pluto return in 2022. There's a lot of changes going on. We have Pluto in Capricorn, so it's about a whole restructuring of the structure of our consciousness. And as a country, we have an influence on other countries. So we're having an identity crisis. We're trying to restructure who we think we are, and because Capricorn is an energy that deals with sort of being out there and being seen. It's very evident for everybody, but it's also about being a leader, and. We could get into the numerology of America. It's very interesting. In fact, I'll do a video on that because I think that'll be very enlightening for people, because it connects to this whole being heart-centered, and the North Node of America being in Leo. America is learning how to be heart-centered, moving away from the trauma of the past and moving into a more heart-centered, loving, creative, self-expressive leadership role. It's fine if America's leadership, if America takes leadership in the world, but it has to be from a place of the heart. It can't be from a place of the head, because that's when we get into all of these problems. Okay. So we have we need to go back to the past and review, and go back and release the emotions, release the sense of victimization, release the trauma. Okay, get out of our heads. Okay, break that, and then move into the North Node. Uranus and Taurus. Let's talk about that. Uranus and Taurus. Uranus wakes us up. Okay, it's been in Aries for 7 years, since 2010. It'll go back into Aries for a little while, and then come back into Taurus for good for 7 years anyway. In 2019, Taurus is a Venus ruled sign. Taurus is about the Earth and our connection to it, and the magic within her. And so as Uranus moves through Taurus, the Earth is going to speak, and we're going to have some good answers for the Earth. So there's that. So this is the energy of this eclipse. The other thing, which is just sort of an aside, I think I've said it before in other videos, is that the planet Mars is actually out of bounds. There is the zodiac is in a certain area of, okay, we'll say here, is in a certain area of the sky, the signs of the zodiac, and the planets generally sort of work within that area, okay? But you can actually, some planets can go out of that area at what we call out of bounds, either southward or northward. And because this is occurring at the South Node, of course, it's happening. Mars is out of bounds in southern, what we call southern declination. Declination is sort of the level where the planet is, and so it's actually very bright for us. In fact, on this eclipse, it's super bright. For those people who will see this eclipse, which won't be here in America, I think it's over in India and Australia and that area of the world, you're going to see the blood red moon next to a blood red Mars. So it's going to be very amazing. It's also a very long eclipse. It goes on for a really long time. It's a blood moon. The moon turns blood red. And it's actually the same eclipse series that Donald Trump was born. He was born right before a blood moon. He is an eclipse baby. So there's a connection. There's a fated connection there. When your eclipse family gets activated, there's going to be stuff going on in your chart as well. And it is, it's within, I think, 5 degrees of his Leo, Pluto and Leo, although it's not, usually you have to only go 1 or 2 degrees. But the fact that it is his, the same eclipse family of his birth, that's significant and fated for him. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay. So I think that's what I want to say about this. This has actually gotten a little bit longer than I thought. I'm not going to include how this affects America. I might do this on, I sort of talked about it, but I might do it on a second video. I'm not sure. I do want to get into the Kabbalah of this and then do a card reading, but I think I'm going to leave the card reading until we get closer to the eclipse. I like to do the card readings when we're in the energy, and so even just before the eclipse I should be able to do it. I'll suss it out using my intuition. I think that's the best way. I think I did the last eclipse card reading on the day of the eclipse, so I might have to just wait for that. We'll see. I'll keep you posted. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you find this both informative and inspiring. And if you would like to get a personal reading from me, I can be reached at my website, theseedsoftransformation.com. If you want to get daily astroblurbs, subscribe to my channel. Share it with your friends. I would really like to share my knowledge, and we're going through a lot of stuff, and if I can be of help to people, I want to be of help to people. And a personal reading is one of the best ways to do that. So again, you can contact me on my website, theseedsoftransformation.com. This has been a pleasure, and I will see you again soon. And sorry I'm a little sweaty, but it's really hot in Massachusetts right now. Things are going to get hot, hot, hot. It's going to be a hot one, guys. Ciao.